my lengthy vacation. Thank you so much for checking out the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH and Parrot Media platforms. If you didn't know, I'm Bubba O'Neil. Hey, as we did in 2025 and 24, we love to shine the spotlight on Southern Ontario sports teams, executives, broadcasters. And in today's case, this is a fella who's been a star in the secondary for the Hamilton Ticats.
Quarterback right where that linebacker was.
Here's Cornelius in trouble, trying to get away. He will not. Oh, what is he doing? What is he doing? He throws it away. It's picked up and brought back by Katsantonis. Touchdown, Hamilton. What is happening? The Ticats strike again.
What a wild play from the 2023 season. Fresh off signing a 3-year contract extension, let's welcome Ticats safety Stavros Katsantonis. Thanks for joining us, but I got to say, what on earth was Cornelius thinking there?
I know. That seems to be the iconic one, but thanks for having me on today, Bubba. I couldn't be more excited to be here.
Well, it's great. Hey, let's get right down to business. Obviously, we have you here. It is the offseason, a great opportunity to catch up with you and talk about the seasons and your career, but a 3-year contract extension. I mean, we see these 1+1s and 1-year contracts in the CFL, but having that commitment from yourself and the Tiger Cats giving you the opportunity to sign a 3-year extension, that's got to be just a wonderful thing for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a big blessing, and that was one of the things I wanted. Kind of on my notes that I wrote down kind of throughout the season when I knew I was going to go into contract talks and talking with my agent. It was like I wanted to be, back here long term and just show that commitment to the organization, to the fan base, and I think the organization showed that right back with that 3-year deal and committing to that as well. So yeah, like I said, I mean from the top down, Scott Mitchell, Coach O, who I'm always going to refer to him as Coach O because that was my coach when I got into the league. Alex Russell, our whole front office staff. It's just an amazing organization to be in and play for, and then obviously the lovely city of Hamilton. Everyone that's probably watching back at home right now, the fan base is just amazing.
It's interesting to me when you get into these conversations, and sometimes I think the player, especially because it's an individual and an agent, more so against the big focus of the team, sometimes discussions come up and you're trying to promote yourself to get a contract, and here's why I think I am worth blank, blank, blank.
Right.
And the team is saying, well, I think you're worth blank, blank, blank.
Right.
Sometimes those conversations can be, do they come somewhat uncomfortable sometimes?
I mean, sometimes, yeah. At the end of the day, right, you have to realize it's a business too, and I think that's where a lot of players can kind of get mixed emotions. It's happened to me before too, where you are living in the emotional realm of, oh, I'm worth this. Why aren't they paying me this? And sometimes that can get frustrating. But I think early on, especially with just this contract and how it went, there was never a feeling where it's like, I don't feel like they're valuing me. Like they've made a very competitive, very strong first offer, and we weren't very far off, and we got the deal done pretty quickly over the holidays, and especially with Christmas and New Year's and that time off. But yeah, man, it was just a really perfect scenario on how everything kind of worked out. But yeah, it's a business at the end of the day, and things can definitely get tricky to navigate for some guys. My agent, Freddie, was really helpful through the process. He's been in the game a long time up in the CFL and really helped guide me through that process. And I think that's what they're there for as well, to kind of level your emotions out sometimes, because nobody's perfect. And even vice versa, same for him. I think that can be a good thing for me too, is being able to level out his emotions, because we're all human at the end of the day, and things get lost in translation over a text message or an email nowadays, and not so many people are making phone calls. So yeah, it was just it's a cool process to be a part of, and like I said, just a blessing to be back here in Hamilton another 3 years. I'm
not trying to get you in trouble here by asking you this question, but I do feel like it's something I kind of want to find out a little bit about. The free agency is in February. Right. The deal done well before that, so that's a great thing for the Tiger Cats, a great thing for you in a time where maybe players and teams are worried about looking forward to the 2026 season and what gaps have to be filled. But the other teams are thinking the same thing. Yep. Like, was there interest from other teams, or do you feel like, or was that even in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. Obviously, there's the tampering window doesn't open up until I think February 1st. So there's always murmurs and stuff like that, but there's nothing ever that can be concrete anyway. Right. So I think initially, from when the season ended, like I couldn't really picture myself being on another team, let alone like envisioning what I would look like in another jersey just kind of doesn't make sense when you play in Hamilton for 5 years, and the legacy that's being built here, the history that the organization has, like, let alone making the cardinal sin and going up the QEW to the blue team.
Don't even start that.
Right? Yeah. So like I said, it wasn't something that I could really picture, and even when those conversations get extended out, like. And you start to have like the human thoughts of, oh, could I be somewhere else? And it just never really sat right with me. I can never wrap my head fully around moving from the city that I've kind of made my home now after last off season. And yeah, it just didn't make sense to, go anywhere else. And yeah, I don't think there was really any official interest that I could really say, hey, this is concrete. I can make this commitment to go to this place and go there. And again, like, my goal was never to be the highest paid player. And I'm sure I could have if I went to free agency. I'm sure there was some teams out there that, would have wanted to make me the highest paid DB to, bring me in their franchise. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like I said, Hamilton made a very competitive and strong, fair offer to begin with. And we got the deal done. And, the rest is history from there.
Well, that's great news. And that'll be the end of our off the field conversations and stuff like that, too. Because that is part of the game, as you well know, as we talk about it being a business. Let's step back a little bit to 2025.
Yep.
And I know ultimately the prime directive is to win a Grey Cup.
Yep.
And this team fell short of it in 2025, getting to the Eastern Final, losing on the final play of the game to the Montreal Alouettes at home, of all places. But when you look at it now that you've had some separation, what was 2025 to you?
Man, I think it was a great year. Obviously not the greatest year because we didn't win it all, but I think from just a me having fun standpoint with my teammates, I think we had a really good locker room that was built by Ted. Rest his soul.
No doubt.
But the things that he did to bring the guys in that he did were just great. Obviously, great football players: the Kenny Lawlers, Liam Dobson, Johnny Augustine, Reggie Stubblefield. Like, we can go down the list. I think you were talking before we started. I think you said 20-something free agents that came in.
Yeah.
So those guys, again, were great football players, but they're even better teammates. They made the locker room fun, and not to say that the locker room wasn't fun before that, but just really bringing it together on that end. Guys were having fun at practice. We were having fun after practice, and even outside of the stadium. Being able to go on kind of just different trips with the guys. That we had that cabin trip, our cottage trip, I should say. That I'm more full time in Canada, but I'll call it a cabin. But doing a little lake trip. I think on one of our bye weeks in June or July with probably about 15 guys up at a lake house just having a good time. And I think that just goes to show the bond that we built on that team. And while it wasn't, where we wanted to land at the end of it, I think it still can be looked on, at least from my end, as a success from that standpoint. Because at the end of the day, what matters is kind of, for us as football players, is, it's winning. But I think building those bonds and those relationships that, 20, 30 years from now, you can look back on and, connect with that person, or who knows, maybe that person is your boss at the end of the day, giving you a job, right? You never know, right? So I think that's the important stuff that you build on in football, and we're just looking to continue building on that here in 2026.
Being part of the team and from a media standpoint with the Ticats Audio Network and getting to know you guys a little bit, there was seemingly a difference to me in 2025 with this club, and maybe it's something that you can comment on, because I felt like in the past when the losses were happening, the losses could get a team down.
Yep.
I felt like you guys handled winning and losing differently this year, because there was a long win streak, and then you started the season with the typical slow start for the Tiger Cats. But it didn't seem to phase you guys as much this year.
Yeah. I think that's a testament to Scott Milanovich and kind of the culture that he built or has built the last couple of years that he's been in the organization, and what he's demanding of us, not getting too high, not getting too low, and when we are on those highs, is trying to ride that as long as possible, right? Racking off a 6-game win streak was probably something that hasn't been done here probably, I don't think, since maybe 2019, I think, when on that 15-3 season. But that's the biggest one. And then also just starting off 0-2 and him being able to rally us and get us ready for that week 3 game where we kind of never looked back from there, right? Because I guess the narrative was, right, the slow start, starting 0-2. That's kind of how we started the last couple of years. And you start to hear the murmurs like, oh, is it going to be 0-3, 0-4, right? And I think in previous years, like you said, that could have maybe got us down a little bit more, sat with us a little bit. But I think Scott just did a great job of prepping us. All our coaches, right? Scott's the leader of all that, but Scott, Coach Monson, our DB coach, Coach BI, and, all our position coaches really did a great job of just leaning into the positivity of, hey, yeah, we're 0-2, but I mean, both those games to start off, we had chances to win and we didn't execute, and we needed to get better at that. And I think we did over those practices on those, those 3 weeks of practices until we did win that first game versus Montreal.
Well, it was fun. That 6-game win streak was certainly a lot of fun. I guess from the broadcast standpoint, I can only imagine. In fact, hearing you guys in the locker room sometimes, boy, I was like, oh, this is so fun. Yeah. These are great times for the Tiger Cats. Hey, you talked about the fact, we talked about the contract and some of the things, and I think the value for you, I think on a positional basis, is that you played in secondary. You are a safety, a veteran safety at this point, now entering your 6th season, I believe, in the Canadian Football League. But you come with a Canadian status as well, too. But then you would look at it and you're like, Bakersfield, California. Can you explain all this? I know I've been asked this question a lot, so I'd rather hear it from your mouth.
Yeah, no, definitely. So obviously I was born and raised in Bakersfield. Played my high school football there. My dad is where I get my Canadian citizenship from. He was born and raised in Edmonton. Played for the Edmonton Wildcats. One of his jerseys I wore on one of my walking games, I think when we played Edmonton at home during the season. But yeah, so he was born in Edmonton, did his thing there. Got recruited down to junior college in Bakersfield. Went down there, met my mom there, then got recruited back up to the University of Calgary, played football there. My mom went with him. I think it was 1988 is the story I always tell, and at least the story they always told me. And it was like a record blizzard year. He ended up being on the Vanier Cup championship team in '88. Had a career-ending back injury, and I think all that combined with the snow for a California girl. My dad got a taste of the California heat, and they never looked back. They moved back to the States, opened up a restaurant. One of 4 siblings, started a family down there. And yeah, it's kind of come full circle now from, him starting up here to me coming back here and kind of reviving the Canadian roots.
How did you get to UBC?
That was, again, all my dad. Like I was originally going to go walk on at the University of Washington, play for the Huskies, kind of had a preferred walk-on offer there. Had the whole D1 dream, all that sort of deal. And then my dad was just like, oh, would you ever be interested in playing, up in Canada where I played? And I was like, not really. Like, I don't, I didn't say no. I just wasn't actively like pursuing it on my own.
Unfamiliar too.
Yeah. Unfamiliar aside from just seeing my dad's Vanier Cup ring as a kid, and then kind of knowing that he had a training camp with Edmonton back in the 80s, and the Warren Moon, that whole history. But other than that, the only 2 schools I knew about because of my dad was the University of Calgary, UBC, and then St. Mary's, which is who Calgary played back in that Vanier Cup. So he ended up sending my film up to the University of Calgary and UBC. They were kind of immediately interested in what they saw, and got a scholarship from both, and kind of made a decision to go to UBC because it was kind of near where I was going to be going already. I was planning on living in that Seattle area. Didn't really know too much about the Pacific Northwest doom and gloom yet, coming from like the Central Valley, sunny, hot desert. But yeah, it was really my dad that got me up there, and always so thankful for him and pushing me to get there. And I mean, now it's just turned out so well. I mean, you can kind of see some of the highlights and stuff like that.
It's crazy to me when I look at some of this UBC game film stuff, like, your playing style was very similar to how you are right now.
Yeah.
And I guess that really was an attraction for professional teams. Actually, I looked through a lot of this tape.
Yeah.
These are some really big impact plays.
Yeah. I mean, like, that was my thing when I first got to UBC, obviously coming from California and just having a little bit, like probably every American player that comes to the CFL and doesn't know about Canadian rules football, you probably think, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to dominate because I've played against the top of the top. Like my high school quarterback was Jordan Love. When I went to high school, played with Chris Barnes, who's a linebacker for the Panthers right now. So like I played with all these top-notch guys, and I thought initially coming up here, my rookie season at UBC, that I was going to dominate the game, and I was in for a very rude awakening when I first got up there. My first position after playing safety in high school was field corner, and as most people know, playing corner up here is different than playing corner down in the States. You got to give 1 yard off. You're sometimes covering a waggle, and not to mention the field 65 yards long or 65 yards wide, 110 yard, like all these different rules that I really, you read them on Wikipedia, and then it's different when you actually get up here. And there was
wide receivers have a running start,
right? Yeah, like all that stuff. 20-second play clocks. The game 3 downs, right? No halo, or sorry, the halo. was just a crazy adjustment period for me. Like, my conditioning wasn't there. These guys were just as good as the guys that I was competing with down in the States. And while they weren't getting the exposure, that you get down in the States, they were still just as good. So I think that kind of humbled me a little bit at the start. I didn't start right away. I didn't kind of get my first start until I think the fourth to last game of the season. And the first game that I got put in on like a dime package, I gave up a touchdown on my first play. So that was my welcome to Canadian rules football play. And I was surprised they even let me get back on the field after that one. But my coaches never kind of lost faith in me. Ended up getting my start. And I think the first start that I had 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then from there, I was like, all right, I think I can get this down, and never look back from there at UBC.
The crazy thing about the position that you play is that you could be humbled, and then you can be the hero.
Yep. Yeah.
All in a matter of minutes.
Yep.
Sometimes even seconds.
Yeah.
Because, there's nicknames for guys in this secondary. Sometimes they call them toast because they're always getting burned.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is they can be so athletic and have incredible hits and interceptions as well, too. How do you have that quick memory to be able to, because eventually you're going to get beat as a DB. Is that not fair?
Yeah, no, it is. Like, you're set up to technically fail. Like, the first part is you're moving backwards, which is not a natural thing for probably anyone in life to do, right? Like, we grow up, you walk forwards, you run forwards. Like, you got to learn that skill, right, just off the bat. So you're definitely going to be at a disadvantage right away. And then up here with the waggle, the 1 yard off, like, it's built for the offenses. And I think that's what makes the DBs up here so special and so elite compared to down in the NFL, where it's a tighter field. There's not any waggle. Yes, the athletes are just as fast, if not some guys are faster. But you really got to be able to cover space up here, and it's a really tough thing to do. And I think that's a testament kind of to the coaches that I've I guess learned from over my time playing football. And I think every coach will tell you have to have a short memory when playing football. You got to be able to move on from things fast. And it goes the same, I think, when you're winning as well, right? Like, if you get stuck on the high of just winning, like, once you lose, like, how do you react to that, right? And I think Coach O always did a great job of, like, the adversity response. Like, how are you responding to adversity? And again, like, I'm so, like, quick to flush things when negative things happen, and even balance out. Yes, when big plays happening, I'll kind of be hyped about it, but I always kind of tell myself, like, I gotta get back to that, like, baseline of just kind of, all right, ebbs and flows, but I'm always just kind of trying to stay in that baseline flow mode, so that like I said, you don't get too high, you don't get too low, and gotta have that quick memory when bad plays happen, because you never know. Like you said, you could give up a touchdown one play, you could get a pick six the next, and it offsets it, and you win the game. People will never remember the touchdown; they'll remember the pick six, right? So it's a healthy balance for sure.
Well, the neat thing about that is that you were able to adjust that sort of attitude and sort of professional mindset in your days playing at UBC. You win a Vanier Cup. You have some really special moments in terms of team success, but also can you translate how that would take you to the next level where, I don't know, like, you tell me here, did you start to say, okay, I can make a living out of this? Like, I think I can go pro here. Like, if it's not going to be the NFL, the CFL could be interested. Right. And that whole draft process where, maybe, I think everyone thinks you're a first-round draft pick, but you're selected in the 4th round. Yeah. Can you talk to me about that whole sort of preparation?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like, from when I was a kid, like, my career day when I was in kindergarten, I like every kid, I was watching football on the TV, and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do one day. I want to be a pro football player. And saying it then compared to once you get into high school and college and start to have the realization of, like, what it actually takes to get there are two different things. So I would say once I probably got into university, I was like, okay, I have a chance where I can, make it to, the CFL, the NFL. And I just need an opportunity at the end of the day. I've always been, like, an undersized, under the radar type of guy. And I just knew, like, okay, I had friends that I had played with now at UBC that got into the CFL, got their foot in the door. And I was like, well, if they can do it, and I played with them, like, that should be at least a initial factor to say that you can make it there, right? And then obviously being Canadian, that's probably one of the biggest things with the CFL draft, and the way the Canadian Football League values the Canadian football players. I think I knew from then probably my second year in university, after I kind of put together the first and then kind of became the full-time starter my second year, and after that I was like, okay, I was starting to talk to, the scouts that would come through from the CFL teams, to kind of look at that year's draft class. Would always, brush shoulders with them at, the UBC. And actually, I came out to Hamilton in, I think it was 2022. The Vanier Cup was here back-to-back years.
Right.
Or sorry, not 2022, 2016, I think was the year. And I was sitting at a table, I think, with the then, assistant GM Drew Alamang, a couple other big personnel guys that, were with, I think, Vince Magri, who was with
Magri too.
Yeah.
All these guys know their Canadian talent.
Yeah, and now he's with the Bills, I believe.
Yeah.
I was sitting at a table with them at the All-Canadian banquet, and when you start to brush shoulders with those type of people, I think that's when the realization starts to set in that, hey, if you keep going on the right track, this could be something that you could do for a living. But yeah, I think if you told me back then, I probably would have I'm always a big dreamer, so I would have said, yeah, I would have believed you. But to say how it all happened and where it's all got me to now, I don't think I'd be lying if I said I knew this is exactly how it happened, right? So yeah, no, it's just been an awesome process to get here, and then obviously to be drafted by Hamilton. I still remember that COVID draft night, 2020, world shut down, kind of just celebrating with my close family, and hearing my name or seeing my name kind of get drafted, getting the call from Coach O. Everyone in the organization was like just an ecstatic thing for me. And then you fast forward to 2020 or that 2020's actual season. The season gets canceled. Didn't get to play football that year. Finally get to play football in the 21 year, and no preseason games. Like having to learn how to be a pro very fast. Yeah, it was interesting for sure.
Truth be told, and I will have to put my hand up here and be honest. I remember, I think it might have been the 22 season, and I think you were playing behind Tunde Adeleke.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, great player.
And in this particular game on the Ticats audio network, RJ Broadhead was the play-by-play guy, and we have Rick Samperin right now calling the games. But RJ was away, and I called the game that game.
Okay.
And I called lots of high school games and university games, and McMaster and that kind of stuff. And I, of course, knew who you were.
Yeah.
But after practicing your name about 18,000 times, Tunde goes down, and I'm with Mike Morielli calling the game, this game, and you come in, and I just butchered your name.
There we go.
Not once, but twice and 3 times. But I'm led to believe that you, even as a child, used to butcher your name. Is that true?
No, I've never messed up my own name.
Okay, hold on. Okay,
no.
Okay.
My mom would get mad at me if I did that. So,
okay, I'm glad about that, though. But was that something that people, as a child, as growing up, whatever?
All the time, yeah. Like literally, I mean, we could go back to kindergarten class when they're trying to say your name, and anytime there's a substitute teacher at any grade level, they're going through, Johnny, Jeff, Jim, all that, and then it's my name because there's a irregular pause from the easy names that they've said, and I'm waiting for it. Sometimes I'll help them, sometimes I'll just listen to see how bad they say it. But yeah, literally my whole entire life, I'm sure every announcer, I'm sure all the TSN announcers probably have gotten the most nervous, right? Because you're speaking to hundreds of thousands of people.
Absolutely.
And you're like, not only are you worried about them, but I'm sure they're, like you are, right? You're worried about mispronouncing someone's name, because it does, you do feel a certain type of way when someone says your name wrong on TV, and you're like, man, it's not that hard. But I get it.
All I kept thinking about was your mom and dad are furious with me right now.
Yeah, they definitely. My mom, I've always not shortened my name, but my dad, coming from the Greek heritage, right? His parents immigrated from Greece during the 40s, 50s, just after World War II. So during then, his name got his true name is Dimitri, but got shortened to Jimmy, which is kind of the the Canadianizing, Americanizing of the Greek name. And even growing up for me, I always wanted to kind of shorten my name to Stav. I never went as far as to go Steve, which one person that has always called me Steve since I met him is Michael O'Connor, who is my roommate at UBC, quarterback, and he's called me Steve to this day. That was kind of my house name, but Yeah, I always try to shorten it to Stav or Stavy. My friends would call me Stavy or Stav. And my mom would always get mad that I did that. She's like, we gave you the name Stavros. Like, you're going to tell people that's your name. Like, stop having them call you the shortened version. And it's definitely, I'm definitely grateful for having that name. And obviously it's been said thousands and thousands of times now. And I'm sure people have practiced it thousands and thousands of times so they can say it right.
Well, I went to school right after that moment, though. And you're right. As a broadcaster, it is certainly one of the biggest fears. And I think about that. I was like, well, I wonder if like he's like had people butchering his name his whole entire life. Yeah. Well, there's one game in 2025 this year where those TSN announcers were saying your name a whole lot. And that's this 3 interception performance against the Argonauts. You know what? First of all, before I even start there, it's amazing to me. You had 3 interceptions in that game. And I know you've watched the NFL as well, too. We had the New York Jets. All right, who as a defense were in pass defense, quarterbacks attempted 515 passes against them.
Did they get that 1 interception? Or
no,
did
they didn't. They finished an entire 17-game regular season without an interception, and in one game you had 3. Wow. What was that game like?
Man, that was again another game where I couldn't tell you that I thought I was going to have 3 picks in the game. I mean, you always strive again, like when you're studying the film, there's always like, oh, I can get that play or I can get that play. And that's one thing compared to actually doing it on the field. Like this one is just, more hustle and run of the football and it bounces up in your favor and you're in the right place at the right time. But I mean, the first play of this game, actually, I should have had probably a pick 6, but I dropped it. So yeah, that's what my coaches were on me a little bit about that. But to come back and get 3. And I think before the 3rd one, I dropped the actual 3rd one, like 2 plays before. So yeah, again, it's just like you never plan for that. It's never scripted. But when it happens, it's like, oh, this is just my game, right? Like this was meant for me. And to do it against probably our biggest rival and kind of seal the Ballard Cup in that way, bring it back to Hamilton. I mean, that definitely makes it a little bit more compared to probably any other game.
What does it feel like when you that actual moment? And I've talked to hockey players, soccer players about like when they score. When you feel you've diagnosed a play mentally, and you, as you said, you make that break on the ball. And you're like, mine. Yeah. What's that feel like?
Yeah, well, actually, instead of the mine, we say easy. That's kind of our thing that since I got there, I mean, Craig Butler was telling us, hey, before you catch the football in every single drill, it's easy because the interception's easy. And Simone will tell you that. I think that might be something started by Coach O, and who knows how far that dates back to, maybe his playing days. But
sure.
I mean, yeah, so it's definitely the easy part first. But yeah, I was actually talking about this kind of on my podcast with Kenny Lawler, and we were talking about just when you track those footballs, and he had that amazing catch versus Ottawa where kind of he, catches in the end zone. I was like, it's just that repetition of you do this so many times over and over and over again that it just becomes second nature, that when you see the ball in the air, you just know you're going to kind of catch it. But kind of everything goes quiet, which is a weird thing. Like I said, I think it's just that ultra level of focus where, there's 20 to 30,000 fans screaming. Obviously the guys playing, there's pads hitting each other, but in those moments, I think when you're going to catch that football, like you can't really hear anything, which is weird. And me and Kenny were just kind of attributing that kind of just that level of focus where you just know you're going to catch the ball. You're so locked in that once you grab it, then kind of the volume gets turned back on. But yeah, it's such an interesting thing. Like I said, there's never before the play, you're not saying, I'm going to get an interception. It's like more, you're in the right place, the right coverage, the right call, and the ball gets thrown, and you just say to yourself, like, oh, I can get this. And then that easy call comes out, whether it is verbal or kind of mental at this point, psychological. Once you catch, it's like, okay, now how do I score, right? Like, and retain the ball so I can give it back to my offense as well. So, yeah, that's definitely how I would describe those scenarios.
I love that kind of conversation, and when you get just deep beyond the actual play, and like you said, the mental aspect of it, or what's going on. I mean, it's funny you talk about that. You were in your podcast, you were talking to Kenny Lawler, who is just an outstanding wide receiver, and we really got to see it in the Hamilton area this year. His excellence, his catch radius, all the things that he does to become, the all-star player that he is. Obviously, as a player, I've talked to Rob Hitchcock about this too, because he played the same position that you did with the Tiger Cats, and ended up a Wall of Famer. Yeah.
Every day I see him up there.
He used to talk to me about how one of his favorite things was staring down Anthony Calvillo, the quarterback.
Okay.
And those eye games that go on.
Yeah.
Do you ever do those kind of things, or with wide receivers and all the trash talk that goes on?
Yeah, definitely. I do. I mean, my eyes are probably my most important asset to the game, at least to me playing. So the good thing is most people can't see my eyes through the dark visor.
That's right.
That gives me the advantage. I feel like I'll talk to Bo sometimes, like, dude, with the dark visor, like sometimes I can't tell if you're looking at me, and I will throw the ball thinking you haven't looked at me before the snap, and you're actually looking at me, and then you make a play on it or whatever, and it definitely makes it more difficult. And then even with receivers sometimes, like, I'll kind of mess with guys, when we're on the sideline, like, I can tell they're looking at me, like, you're just in passing by just chatting with them, and then I'll just pretend like I'm not looking at them, or I'm not like recognizing them, and then I'll go back and be like, oh yeah, like I was looking at you the whole time, and then we'll just start laughing. So there's definitely like that mind game of it, for sure. But yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest part is just where your eyes are at, kind of who you're looking at, and just playing that mental chess game with the offense every single play.
Do you trash talk?
A little bit, not too much. That's never been kind of my game. The best person that I learned from was probably Simone. Probably the number one.
That would have been easy.
Yeah, number one trash talker in the league. But hey, that dude backs it up every single play, right? Hall of Famer. Has the stats that speak for themselves and the playmaking abilities. But that's never been a huge part of my game. I've just always been kind of just again that even keel, like trying to not get too high, not get too low. Obviously, after a big hit, I'll get excited, but try to get more excited with my teammates more than anything, and try to build that energy up at the end of the day. But when I can get my little quick-witted comments off, I definitely will. But I try to be careful because I feel like when I trash talk, it kind of backfires a little bit. So, because like you said, like literally the next play, you can give up a big play, and that whoever you talk to will come right back to you. And again, that's a part of the game too. Is if you're going to trash talk, you got to be able to back it up too.
Yeah, because those wide receivers, at least in my days, and certainly not playing professionally, but playing at a much lower level, those wide receivers won't shut up sometimes.
Yeah, well, the DBs are pretty guilty of it too. I mean, I've been around a lot of trash talking DBs. I mean, again, the defense is, especially ours, just that smash mouth football, and you want to hit somebody and you want to talk to them and let them know that you're there. And I unfortunately got a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. That was a little bit questionable, but I did talk a little trash to one of the Montreal running backs as I was getting up from, giving him a pretty good hit, and unfortunately I got flagged for it. So I learned my lesson on that one. But I mean, yeah, again, it's football. I think the other thing too is most guys realize on the other side of it, like when you're receiving it, is it's just within the confines of the game. Like some guys do take it probably to that next level where it can become outside of football, right? Like where it's after the game and it's triggering. Yeah. But most guys kind of understand like that's part of the game, like the trash talk, and you're able to shake hands after the game. Like I think that's the biggest part, the respect level of, all right, you work really hard, I work really hard. Like we're both going to talk trash when we make big plays, but at the end of the day, I think, we can shake hands and we may not like each other, but we can agree that we respect each other.
Absolutely. At
the end of the day. It's always fun to see that side of it as well.
It's one of the wonderful things of football that I just love so much, and you don't see it in all sports, and sometimes it's unwilling in some sports. But after that 60 minutes of hard play, I'm seeing so many of you guys, especially some of the competitors that are playing against each other, having nice conversations and high fives and fist pumps and all that kind of stuff towards each other. That level of respect to me is something I love seeing. You guys, hey man, we're going to play hard. Yeah. Right. But at the end of the day, you know what? We're all together. We're part of the same union. All that kind of stuff.
It's hard sometimes. Though. I'm not going to lie. There's some games where it's difficult not to show the respect after the game, but like just because the competitive level is so high, and sometimes it comes down to those final minutes, and you sometimes losing that way where we've been on that side. It's like, man, like I can't shake someone's hand right now. Like I need my 2-minute like decompress period. I need to go in the locker room and just chill. But I mean, again, and that's not anything against I think other players of the game. It's just more just the competitive level of just hating to lose. And I think that just while it may not be recognized on the field because we're not fighting somebody to show the fans that hey, we are just as pissed off as they are that we lost. That I think that's kind of where that self-control factor comes in. That is coached by our coaches and enforced because you don't want to be a guy that takes the penalty. But yeah, there are some times where those competitive levels really flare up, and you got to do your best. Just all right. I see exactly where my beeline is to the locker room to avoid everybody. And
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. But I mean, I always make an effort no matter what.
Yeah.
Regardless of, if I don't shake someone's hand after the game, is always, making sure I make my rounds kind of, to high five our fans. A tradition that's kind of been there since before I got there is kind of just making that little run from basically the caretakers lounge down to our locker room, and just, high fiving the fans. And obviously in the wins we're hyped, but in the losses, I think one of the things I try to make sure is just appreciate them for coming to the game, and because they're spending their hard-earned money just to come watch us. So I'm always thankful for them. Sometimes apologizing if we do lose, and most of them, they don't need an apology, right? Like they're thankful just to be there as well and support. And they know they have a rich history of, right? A lot of people are season ticket holders from, generations, right? So it's also another humbling moment that shows you like it's more than just the game. At the end of the day, it's more than wins and losses. It's about the community that we have here, the culture that's been built here, and showing respect to that at the end of the day.
One of the things going forward in 2026, and I know I've kind of noticed it a little bit in the last couple of years with yourself and playing special teams and settling to a starting position when your time came, is leadership. And I do remember, I think, help me out here, I think it might have been Regina. You did not play. I think you were.
This past season.
That game you did not play, and that was a highly hyped game because it was first place in the East versus first place in the West at Mosaic Field, and Robert Panabaker comes in there.
Or I think it was Mac Bannatyne.
Was it Bannatyne? Okay.
Yeah, Mac Bannatyne.
Okay, Bannatyne comes in there, and he might have got a little picked on a little bit too,
Right,
And a veteran quarterback, 39-year-old quarterback,
right,
and he knows where he's going to put the ball, and
right,
he's at least going to test that guy.
Right.
Is that where you need to sometimes, I know obviously there's the coaches and the head coach too, but do you feel a responsibility sometimes to sort of, I don't know if grooming is the word, but a reassurance to those younger guys?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Grooming's probably the word for sure. Cause I mean, that's the same way I was when I first got in the league is, as a rookie, you're trying to lean on your veterans cause they know they have the experience, right? And you don't want to mess up. You don't want to make a mistake, right? Nobody wants to be that person. So that was kind of my thing going in that week. Like while I was also battling, trying to play, right? I was a game time decision probably all the way up until, warm-ups for that one. But in knowing that, I also knew, okay, if I don't play, I got to make sure that, I'm being the best teammate that I can be to make sure Mac's ready to go. Because at the end of the day, it's not about just one person on the field, right? Where it's a team game, and it takes, the 45 guys that are on that active roster each week to win football games. So I knew I had to kind of put on, my coaching hat, so to speak, and just be an extra set of eyes, right? Because there's only one DB coach, there's only one defensive coordinator, and there's 12 guys on the field, right? So I was just trying to be the best, best leader in that aspect is trying to help Mac out. Obviously not trying to overdo it, right? Because all the coaches are already doing it anyway.
Right.
But just trying to give him like little tips, little reassurances, things that, guys like Mike Daly, guys like Tunde Adeleke,
nice.
Jamal Roll, Cariel Brooks, right? Deontay Evans. I could go down the list of guys that helped me when I was in that situation as a rookie. And I just try to pour back into him as much as I could. And, I thought he did a great job for not taking a single rep of free safety at all during training camp or during the year, which probably a lot of people don't know. He came in as a corner.
Wow.
And just got thrown into that position that game. So I thought he did a phenomenal job for coming in, and I'm sure he learned a lot of stuff in that game. And he had some reps at corner in games previous, so he getting his feet wet was definitely important. But yeah, you need everybody to win. So that was kind of what I charged myself with job-wise for that week, was on the sideline. Like anytime you come back, like, all right, let's just look at the film, let's see what you're seeing, and let's not get too high, not get too low, and try to stay locked in out there. And I think he did an excellent job while he was out there. Because
people forget too, when you look at the dynamics of the secondary. I mean, the corner and the halves, but you as a safety, sometimes deep safety, you're kind of like the catcher in baseball too, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you're making just about all the calls. You're the one guy that's got to communicate, which is about all the position groups except for probably the D-line. And that's what the linebackers for, right? Like your Mike linebacker and your safety are kind of the intermediaries for the whole defense of, getting the call out, getting the checks out, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you got to be vocal. You got to be able to be loud, especially in a stadium in Saskatchewan that's sold out with 30,000 strong and a future Grey Cup team or Grey Cup winning team. yeah, like that was just my biggest thing to him too, is like, all right, it's not just going to happen in the game. Like in practice, you got to make sure that you're being as loud as you possibly can. You got to be commanding out there. Cause the other players are going to notice, like if you do it in a tone that's not aggressive, but not, how do I put it? I guess not assertive. You might not get that respect or you might not get that level of trust from the player,
right,
next to you. Cause like, he's saying in a way that sounds like he's telling me a question as opposed to, giving me a command. And again, it's not a command in like I have the final say word or anything like that. But I think just being able to learn that part of it too is, there's so many components that go into that actual position. And I think that was just great learning for him for those weeks where, he was getting the reps and being able to play with, playing with the ones, right? Like that's how you get your experience. That's how you get the confidence to be able to go out there and make plays at the end of the day.
Baptism by fire, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
But as you talk about sort of being that sort of leader and guidance, and I think we all have people in our lives that maybe are responsible for who we are and what makes us tick. And I always love to do a little picture time. And I'm going to throw a couple pictures up here, and you just tell me what this person means to you.
Oh man, that's wifey right there. That's my better half, my rock. Yeah, she's been with me just about every step of the way since I went to university. When I went to UBC, and stayed with me all those years. Just always supporting me, always believing in my dream as well. Like just always being supportive of that, even when there was no money coming in for the job. And she never doubted me, never strayed away from my beliefs, my goals, and a big reason why I'm at where I'm at today, and probably why I'm as level-headed as I am.
Really?
Yeah, she definitely helps keep me calm, keep me cool. But she's so awesome and so supportive. And like I said, the CFL season is a long, grueling one, and there's injuries, there's mental battles that you're dealing with, there's physical battles, right? There's so many different dynamics that if you don't have a strong support system, you can easily fold and easily cave to not having a long, successful career, right? Because the CFL careers, any pro career is on average about 3 years, maybe.
Right.
But having a good support system, I mean, that's one of the many, but probably the biggest one, in that support system. And I owe a lot to her. And she definitely lives the stress of a CFL wife, and probably all the emotions that go into when she's probably watching and sees me maybe limping around out there, maybe not getting up too quick from a hit. I'm sure that kind of is a heart stopper sometimes. But again, that she means a whole lot to me, and it's been super important and kind of the ascension that I've had in my CFL career.
It's amazing when I happened to see her wearing a UBC shirt, and I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, this is a long time.
Yeah.
How long?
We've been married for 7 years, be 8 this year, and I want to say it's 2026, right? So we'll be going on 11 years together.
Wow.
So I met back in early 2015 or just before I was leaving for college, and I've never kind of looked back since then.
Congratulations on that. That's great.
Thank you.
One more here that I really probably need.
You're pulling out all the stops right there. That's senior night 2014. But my parents, those are, again, probably the next biggest part of my support system, and obviously a big part in my upbringing from playing football at a young age. And again, people that never were negative towards the dream of me wanting to be a pro football player, right? I heard it from everybody other than probably my family members that, you gotta have a real career. You gotta, set your sights on something more concrete that'll last for a long time. But my parents, every time there's never a second guess. There's never, hey, Dad, I need these cleats. I need this football helmet so I can make it to the next level. And while football helmet isn't going to make you, the great player, but they always say, Dion always said, look good, feel good, play good. And my dad was never a second guesser when it came to, hey, I need these new cleats, or I need these nice gloves, or, any of that stuff. And my mom was always, the hard rock of making sure that, you're taking care of your academics, right? You can't go to college if you don't have, a high GPA in high school, and they're not going to give you a scholarship. And you can't stay in college if you don't keep your GPA up there either. So, my mom was very instrumental in just making sure I was always staying down, staying locked in, and you know, both of them being aware of kind of the sacrifices that you have to make to get to the next level, right? There's a lot of missed high school dances, missed parties,
yep.
You know, missed you know, I mean, you could go down the list of, you know, just different things I missed, to whether it was a football camp, a workout, really anything, a football visit, right? You know, just really owe a lot to them. And again, still with me to this day. They both were at the East Final. My dad actually just fresh off a foot surgery, so he got to take in that game, and it just shows that their commitment level. And they came to a lot of games when I was out on the West Coast at UBC, trying to get them out to a little bit more now. They came to their first Labor Day game this year as well.
Oh, wow.
So, they were at the Grey Cup back in 2021 as well, supporting me there. And they've been there just about every step of the not just about every step of the way since I first kind of had the dream of wanting to be a pro football player.
Well, the dream has been realized, my friend, and I'm sure as your wife, your mom, your dad, everyone, I know you have a big family all tied into you, are probably very, very proud of you.
Yeah.
And even someone like myself, seeing you come in as a first-year player and being one of the leaders out there, I'm proud of seeing what you do.
Yeah.
And it was a successful year for you, career highs and tackles and interceptions in 2025, being the leaders back there in a real tight unit of 5 guys in that secondary that were so splendid on all levels. Really can't wait for 2026. Felt a little something. I think in a lot of Tiger Town felt that way about 2025, and let's hope that that feeling continues in 2026. I feel like you're on the verge of something really special, and now that you got the deal done, boy, that's got to feel real good, and all you can focus on is football at this point. So thank you for joining us on the Sportsline Podcast. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you a little bit more, and as I said previously, just congratulations for 2026, because I think it's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be, like I said, it's just such a blessing. Gotta give the glory to God and this new contract, this new season, and that's one of my biggest, probably my number one support thing is my faith, and then my family, and then third is always football. That's how it's always been: faith, family, football for me. So just staying in that routine, staying down, being a good person, being a good husband, good brother, good son, good teammate, all those sort of things, and again, just getting into the routine, like you said. Now it's all focused on working out and making sure we get the guys back that we need, going out and getting some guys that we need as well. And just focusing on training and being the best possible player I can be in 2026.
It's going to be fun watching, partner. Hope you join us again here on Sportsline.
Anytime. I'll be back for sure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, partner. Well, that's your Sportsline Podcast for the day. And if you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports, especially with the quality individuals like number 30, Stavros Katsantonis. Well, if you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline Podcast, you want to hear from you, please hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe, even the share button. And if you have something to say, we always appreciate your comments. For the outstanding people that make the Sportsline Podcast possible, thank you so very much. And we'll see you real soon.